Alessio, a passionate and determined young man, had recently found a job at one of the most respected companies in the technology sector. After months of interviews, research, and often dashed hopes, that first day of work represented for him the culmination of a long journey made of sacrifices. The night before, he had carefully prepared everything he needed, choosing the best suit and organizing his office debut down to the smallest details. He was ready to give his best, full of enthusiasm and hope for the future. Before continuing, subscribe to our channel and activate the bell. When the sun rose, Alessio woke up with a rush of adrenaline. That morning, more than any other, he felt full of positive energy. He quickly got ready and left the house wearing his best suit with an optimistic smile on his face. The sky was clear and the sun was shining brightly, almost reflecting his mood. As he walked toward the city center, he thought about how lucky he was to have gotten this position in such a renowned company. His future finally seemed to be taking the right direction. As he was crossing a busy street near his office, something unexpected happened. A car sped through a red light, hitting a young woman who was rushing across the street. The sound of the impact was chilling, and for a moment it seemed as if time stood still. The people around froze, paralyzed by shock, unable to react. But not Alessio. Without thinking twice, he rushed to the scene of the accident. In a matter of seconds, he was beside the injured woman, trying to help her as best he could. With his heart pounding, Alessio immediately grabbed his phone and called for help. He tried to remain calm as he spoke to the operator, providing details of what had happened. The young woman lay on the ground, injured, but still conscious. Her eyes, full of fear and confusion, sought answers that Alessio could not give. However, he did everything in his power to reassure her. "Don't worry, the ambulance is on its way. Don't worry, you'll be fine," he said in a gentle voice, trying to convey confidence. Every minute seemed to last an eternity as they waited for help to arrive. Alessio never left, continuing to talk to the young woman, trying to keep her alert. Around him, people watched the scene, still in shock. He, on the other hand, felt responsible for this stranger, as if it were his duty not to leave her alone. His mind was completely focused on the girl, while the rest of the world seemed to fade into the background. The only thing that mattered at that moment was ensuring that she received the necessary care. While Alessio was immersed in that dramatic situation, his cell phone began to vibrate insistently. He looked at the screen. It was the company. They were probably calling to find out where he was, since he hadn't shown up yet. His heart raced even further. He knew how important it was to be on time on his first day of work, and ignoring those calls could mean losing his hard-earned opportunity. But looking at the injured girl before him, he knew immediately that he couldn't abandon her. He had to make a choice. Alessio thought for a moment. He could answer the calls, try to explain the situation, and maybe run to the office right afterward. But he knew that if he did that, he would lose touch with the dramatic reality that was unfolding in front of him. So he decided to ignore the calls, even if it meant risking his future job. Saving that life was more important than anything else at that moment. Each unanswered call increased the anxiety inside him, but Alessio couldn't take his eyes off the young woman. After what seemed like ages, the ambulance finally arrived. The paramedics quickly got out of the vehicle and took charge. Alessio stood up, but didn't leave until the young woman was loaded onto the stretcher and safely carried into the ambulance. One of the paramedics approached him, thanking him for his quick intervention. As the ambulance drove away with its sirens blaring, Alessio felt relieved, but also anxious. He knew that his first day of work was now compromised, but he was sure he had done the right thing. As he prepared to leave the scene, the police stopped him for questions. Alessio spent the next few hours giving his testimony, reconstructing what had happened. As time passed, the thought of his lost job became more and more pressing in his mind. But every time he thought back to that critical moment, he was convinced that he had made the right decision. He had chosen to help someone in need, and that was what mattered most. The next day, Alessio decided to show up at the office anyway, hoping to explain what had happened. Maybe, he thought, they would be understanding. He entered the company reception with a certain nervousness and was immediately greeted by the Director of Human Resources, Carla, and the department head, Luca. Both of them stared at him with cold looks. "You didn't need to come, Alessio," Luca said in an icy tone. "You lost your job yesterday when you decided not to show up." Alessio tried to explain, recounting the incident and showing the police documents, but Luca cut him off abruptly. "It's not your job to be a hero." Those words hurt him deeply. He had done what he thought was right, and now he was out of a job. He left the office with a heavy heart, feeling torn between the knowledge that he had saved a life and the bitterness of being punished for doing so. As he left the building, however, Carla received an urgent call. It was her colleague who, agitated, asked her to turn on the TV. A news item appeared on the screen reporting details about the accident the day before. To everyone's surprise, the girl who was hit was not just anyone but Chiara, the daughter of the company's founder, Marco Belli. The news reported that the Belli family had expressed deep gratitude to the young man who had rescued Chiara, calling him a hero. Marco Belli himself, visibly moved, had declared, "I would like to meet this boy. He saved my daughter's life, and for this we owe him everything." Carla and Luca were paralyzed by surprise. Not only had they fired Alessio, but now they knew they had made a huge mistake. The phone rang again. It was Marco Belli, and he was asking to speak to Luca. "Find him immediately," Belli ordered. "I want to thank him in person." Meanwhile, Alessio, unaware of what was happening, walked home, tormented by his thoughts. Even though he had lost his job, he knew he had done the right thing. But the injustice of his dismissal continued to weigh on him. He stopped for a moment at the scene of the accident, sitting on a bench, thinking about what had happened. Why does the world punish those who act altruistically? He wondered, while the city traffic flowed indifferently around him. At that moment, a car stopped in front of him. An elegant man stepped out of the vehicle, approaching with a kind smile. "Are you Alessio?" he asked. "Yes," he replied, confused. "I'm Marco Belli, Chiara's father. I wanted to thank you in person for saving my daughter." Alessio, taken by surprise, stammered a few words, but Belli interrupted him with a warm handshake. "Thanks to you, Chiara's out of danger. Your intervention was decisive." Alessio was speechless, unable to comprehend the extent of what was happening. Belli invited him into the car and took him directly to the company. When they arrived, Luca and Carla, embarrassed, immediately apologized to Alessio. "We didn't understand the situation," they said. Belli, with a firm tone, added, "Not only do you have to rehire him, but I want him to become part of an important project for the company. This boy has shown a courage that many of us can only imagine." Alessio, struck by the unexpected turn of events, accepted the offer with gratitude. From that day on, he became a symbol of altruism and courage within the company. The company, inspired by his story, decided to review its internal policies, giving greater importance to ethics and humanity at work. Alessio not only got his job back, but he became a point of reference for all employees, demonstrating that sometimes the most difficult choices are also the right ones. Did you like this story? Leave a comment below. Thanks for watching the video till the end, and see you next story.